all to collectively forge ahead in a fruitful partnership as we look onto this next chapter of contracting opportunities and being able to deliver brilliance and high quality work in all that we do. To that end, I'm excited to pass on to my trusted partner and teammate, Alexis Serrano Castro, Small Business Opportunity Office Manager, to showcase RTD's proposed Triennial Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Goal and methodology for federal fiscal years 2026 through 2028. The floor is yours, Alexis.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, and thank you the team that has been supporting to put this plan together, especially Jose Cristal, that has been closely monitoring every contract to be added to this triennial period. We did this presentation 3 years ago, exactly a day like today. Well, more specifically, it was June 2nd, but it was exactly 3 years ago, and we shared the plan for years 2023, 24, and 25. Now is the time to show the plan for years 26, 27, and 28. So let me really quick take control of the slides again. We're going to be really quick about talking about the history of the DBE program for those that doesn't know why there's a DBE plan or DBE program, the requirements of the plan or the program, the highlights of the DBE as well, the objective, the triennial goal, and the proposed triennial goal, which are the last two bullets are where we're going to spend, the most amount of time. So if we talk about DBE, we have to go back to the history, 1983, as a result of the Civil Rights Act, the DBE regulation was enacted. And it was initially under, with many evidence that minority groups were actually in disadvantage to compete for federally funded contracts. So initially, and I'm thinking initially about 1983, we had specifically minorities related to African American, Hispanic American, Native American, Subcontinent Asian America, and Asian Pacific America. So those were the 5 specific groups that were actually included in the DBE program. In 1987, the women was added. Women because it was understood that the presumed, of course, that the woman was also in disadvantage competing for federally funded contracts. So the DBE rec, especially created the 49 CFR Part 26, says that every recipient under the US DOT, US Department of Transportation, meaning like state or local governmental entities, public or transit agencies, or airport entities, they need to have a DBE program. So the DBE program is specifically defined in the section 2621. So part of the plan or part of the program is to set a DBE triennial goal. So that means every recipient, and RTD is one of the top 50 recipients in the whole nation, needs to have a goal plan impacting 3 years. So the last 3 years, or the current plan, ends in September 30, and the current triennial DBE goal is actually 14.5, and is only applied, and this is very important, to the federally assisted contracts. So won't apply for any local or fully locally funded project or contract in RTD. About the DBE highlight, the DBE program actually is to conform with regulation, again, under the US Department of Transportation, specifically for the CFR Part 26. We need to ensure administration, monitoring, and implementation of the requirements. This program is the one that protects DBEs to be paid, for example, in a prompt manner. So we include prompt payment provisions, release of retainers provision, not remove DBEs for federally funded programs without a cause or a good cause, the fact that the Small Business Office needs to review and approve everything is related with monitoring and implementing those requirements. Also, that we will use the triennial goal to reach and capture DBE participation on those federally funded contracts. So the objective, clearly level the playing field. That's the most important thing. We understand that the DBEs are not at the same level of big corporate multinationals, not because they're not smart or great, it's just because they're small. And usually the owners are working and are totally busy doing some work. So they don't have these huge offices to put together proposals, to put together bids. So we want to create level playing field, and that's the purpose or the objective, so you guys can compete fairly. And then the objective as well is the DBE goal must be clearly tied and narrowly tailored to local market. So our goals, and the ones that we're going to talk today, is specifically for the Denver metropolitan area. This is actually the ones that applies. Not only the area, but also related to the specific contracts, the specific projects that we anticipate we're going to have federal dollars within the next 3 years. There is no way we can set a quota. This is actually a goal. So whoever is competing, they will prove good faith efforts to reach the goal. If they don't meet the goal, but they prove good faith, that's entirely right. That's great, because they prove the good faith of looking for DBEs. The objective, this particular triennial, is to look for DBEs related to design and construction, safety, planning, several bus contractor services contract, and again, on contracts that are going or anticipated to be awarded and executed between October 1st, 2025 and September 30, 2028. So our plan, specifically our plan, start to be executed in October 1st, 2025. So federal fiscal years, for those that are not aware, usually start in October 1st of the year before. So fiscal year 26 actually start in October 1st, 2025 and finish in September 30, 2026. Same thing with the other years. So we have to follow a methodology. And this is one of the purpose of this meeting is to explain you the methodology again. So what we did, we identify opportunities again for the upcoming 3 years. We request information from all RTD departments, including, for example, capital programs, IT, planning, rail operations, bus operations. All those team leaders were actually looking for those opportunities within the next 3 years, and they send those lists of potential projects. We also include potential intergovernmental agreements, or IGAs. Those IGAs are projects where RTD is the direct recipient under the USDOT, but we're not the project owner. To give you 2 examples, 16th Street Mall reconstruction is an IGA. RTD is recipient, and then we manage the DBE program, but it's the city and county of Denver, the owner of the contract, and they are the one looking, advertising, and managing the contract. But we, RTD, are the one managing the DBE requirements. Same thing with the Colfax BRT construction, which is another IGA. We have Broomfield IGA. We have several different ones. We also validate, after getting that list of projects and including IGAs, we validate information with our grants and revenue departments. Why? Because we want to make sure that we include in the plan those projects that most likely will have the federal dollars. We anticipate that we're going to have some of them, right, with federal dollars, and we will not include the ones that we don't know or we think we're not going to have federal dollars. So that's part of the reason we meet, and then we go one project after the other. In the initial assessment, when we started this process early February, we have about 15 or 16 projects, and we end up with only 9 projects. And I'm going to share with you those 9 in just a couple of minutes. Then we go to the most complicated or maybe tedious portion, which is, because it's a lot of work, is identify every scope of work for every contract or project, and then look on the Colorado Unified Certification Program and look for DBEs. So we're going to be looking for DBEs, and we're going to be looking then on firms, DBEs or not, in the Census Bureau. So the U.S. Census Bureau will let us know the amount of firms in the Colorado, in this specifically the Denver metropolitan area, how many firms we have listed on the same NAICS code. So once we do those 2 gathering and list those amounts, then we're almost ready to come up with the goal, at least the first step. So the first thing, like I mentioned, was listing the projects. So these are the 9 projects we have come up. These are the 9 that we anticipate we will have federal dollars. They're 9, and they're all expected to be executed and awarded, or awarded and executed within 26 and 28, those federal fiscal years. The first four, if you see, are related to bus contractor services. Flex Ride is another bus contractor services, pretty much same as paratransit services. So those four are actually the biggest contracts in our triennial. And I'm going to explain you a little bit more why that particular data is so important. We also have alternative bike detection, roadway worker protection, facility and fleet transition plan, which is a design phase for two projects that are going to be construction related, which is facility fleet transition and in the East Metro facility, and the other one, which is the same project, but in the district shop. On those two projects, the last two, we anticipate to have drywall, scope of work related, fire protection, and construction management. For the first four projects, which are the ones that we anticipate to have more DBEs, we have the needs of DBEs that are certified to do janitorial, oil and lubricants, to provide uniforms, glass replacement, provide upholstery services, tool and truck services, tire wholesalers, body shops. Those are pretty much one of the top scopes. And whoever gets those contracts can be creative and look for other opportunity like staffing and some other security services that we have seen in the last few projects, similar to this one. So those are the 9. So once we have those listed projects, again, the step 1 is to look for the base figure. And the base figure is determine the number of ready, willing, and able DBEs, again, using only the Colorado Unified Certification Program, listing then how many firms, DBEs or not, we have in the Denver metropolitan area using the Denver metro area census. And then the third step is dividing the number of DBEs by the number of all businesses in our market using those particular NAICS code, because we have to do it based on the NAICS code. Then we weight the percentage based on estimated percentage or project spending in NAICS code areas. So we're going to divide based on the amount of dollars that we expect for every single NAICS code. We might have more DBEs in one NAICS code, but then the portion of work that NAICS code represent might be really maybe 1 or 2% versus maybe other NAICS code where the amount of work anticipated could represent maybe 10 or 20 or 30%. So that weighted is actually critical to come with the base figure. So based on that, after finishing the first step, the base figure is 6%. So this is the anticipated amount of these 9 projects that we just shared. The 9 projects, again, are the projects that we can anticipate today. We don't know what's going to happen next year or the year ahead, or maybe even at the end of this cycle, which is at the end of year 2028. So just to give you an example, on the previous triennial, we initiated with 11 projects, kind of similar to this 9. Now we have 27 projects with federal dollars. And then we keep adding more DBE participation. Of course, if the project itself includes scopes that we can find DBEs or they are certified DBEs. So the second step, after coming up with the base figure, it's actually looking for other factors, like, for example, how many other firms we understand can be certified as a DBE. Based on different studies showing in different census right now that we were able to identify, there's like 35% of firms can become DBEs, specifically in those particular scope of work that we were looking. But again, the fact that we have more DBEs in the same NAICS code doesn't mean that we can have more DBE participation, because we will select probably, or the prime will select probably one firm to do a particular work, whether they have 10 different other DBEs capable to do the work or 40 DBEs capable to do the work. At the end, it's going to be only one DBE doing that particular work. The amount of work, the percentage that particular work represents, that's what matters. So we were also looking for other factors, and disparity studies is one of those. For example, the disparity study of Denver City, the last one that they posted, suggests that 24% on construction projects can go to DBEs. That's perfect. But the thing is, with this particular 9 projects, only 2% represents construction. So even if we set a goal for 24% in those two projects, in those two projects that we have, the weight, the importance is the weight of this particular impact is going to be only 2%. So that factor won't change the fact that we still have the 6%. Also, we look historical data, and historical data is important. For example, in the past, we did not have those bus contractor services funded with federal dollars. Now we do. In the past, we didn't include it in the plan, and then we have to add them to the plan at the middle of the plan. Now we do, and that's why it's important to know, because those 4 projects represent 87% of the entire dollar amount of this particular triennial. The other 5 projects represent only 12.8%. So if you see this particular numbers, the 4 projects, we can find availability based on the scope of work that we mentioned, that represents only 5.2%. On the other 5 projects, which is actually construction, planning, electrical, plumbing, and drywall, those projects represent, again, 12.8, and we can find up to 15.5 DBE availability. So with that in mind, the 6% is what we think is the right amount for the DBE goal. That will be the proposed goal just based on these factors. Again, if these factors change, we can come up and say, hey, we now have construction projects, or now we have planning projects where we can anticipate 15 or 20% DBE participation. Therefore, the goal is going to be increased. Same way we can ask for a reduction in the goal at the middle of the triennial, we can ask for the increase of the goal. So at this point, it's just based on the fact that we got these 4 projects or contracts that represents 87% of the entire contract amount. So other factors is discussions that we held with stakeholders, including community partners, chambers of commerce. So we got the chance to talk to several chambers of commerce, including, for example, the Colorado Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Women Chamber of Commerce, Asian Chambers of Commerce, African Chamber of Commerce. We also had conversations with COMTO, WTS, PTAC. Why? Because we wanted to hear specifically details on if they think, RTD contracts can represent discrimination on contracting opportunities. The feedback was great, was actually very positive. So there is no more adjustment made based on the discussion we had with stakeholders. We also look for the non-DBEs that might be certified. Again, even if we certify more firms, or city and county and CETA, the 2 certifier agencies in the state, even if they certify more, the numbers are driven by the scope of work. And the scope of work already has a very specific percentage. So we won't be able to increase more percentage of that particular work, even if we add more DBEs in those scopes. Other factors, like I mentioned, historical data on RTD projects. We understand we can capture more participation in RTD construction-related projects, but not in the ones related to bus contractor services. Although I encourage whoever wants to participate or compete for those 4 bus contractor services projects to look for more participation, we understand it has been a challenge. And again, those 4 represents 87% of the entire contract amount. And then the availability of ready, willing, and able certified firms to participate as a subcontracting. We actually use those elements, but we understand where exactly they can compete. So we know those factors won't necessarily make the changes on the 6%. Other data that we need to consider is the current triennial, the one that we have 14.5. The one that we have now has 10.5 with race conscious and 4% with race neutral. That means that we will set goals in projects to capture at least 10.5 DBE participation. And then whatever is on the top of that participation that we set as a goal is considered race neutral, or whenever the prime is actually a DBE themselves. That prime, actually that participation will also be considered race neutral. So we're actually really close to meet the 14.5, but shortly after we execute one of the biggest contract related to construction, we lost one of the DBEs because they lost DBE certification status. Therefore, our current triennial is not meeting the 14.5 just because but we cannot count them as part of the goal. So historical and actual data also suggests that we look for those projects that were not initially planned to be included in the triennial, but then after the first year or second year, actually we had to include them. So that means we know that we're going to have more projects, but they're not necessarily so big as the bus contracted services that suggests we can increase the goal to maybe 8 or 10 or 12%. So all that data is important to come up with the 6% and supports the fact that we have to keep the 6% for now on this particular triennial goal. We have to do many different steps, not only to meet the 6%, we have to come up with many different ways or forms not to create a burden on non-DBEs. So whenever we set a goal, we have to make sure we are not creating that burden to non-DBEs, the rest of the community, which actually is the most amount of firms. Being a DBE, it's actually for us a challenge just to, we work to create that level playing field, but we cannot create on the same time burden or difficult situations for the non-DBEs. That's pretty much what's going on in the program. So we have to look for DBE participation at the greatest extent, looking for race neutral means. So we understand the 6% might not be the biggest goal, but still it's hard just to think if we don't set a goal in a project, potentially we're going to capture DBE participation anyways. So if we think we're going to capture participation anyways, we can just not set goal in projects, but that's not going to happen because we need to have and guarantee participation on those particular projects. So therefore, we're going to look for race conscious means, which is setting goals on those projects. Just so you know, we anticipate to set goals in 8 out of those 9 projects. So we know we're going to guarantee to get at least, the 6%. We're going to look for more DBEs. We're going to keep continuing doing outreach program targeted to small businesses, including DBE firms. We're going to coordinate technical and financial assistance programs like we're just doing it. We're working in relaunching the SPSP program or self-performing subcontracting program, self-insurance program, sorry. And we're also putting together, for the first time in years, the Small Business Academy. The Small Business Academy, you will see the flyer coming up, within the next week, which is a very particular set of trainings dedicated to small businesses, DBs or not, to help them understand how to be more successful competing with RTD projects. So the first one is coming up. It's going to be June 26th, and it will be first come, first serve. So be mindful that if you want to get or participate in that particular one, just go and register once we send out, the flyer. So we have to keep monitoring mechanism to collect program evaluation data. That's what we do on a daily basis. We consistently monitor the DBE participation in every single project. And then we account for DBE participation obtained through subcontracting, not only as a prime, but also the subs. But we're going to look for DBEs to be prime as well. And we understand out of those 9, there's 2 specific projects that we understand we could have them maybe DBEs. But again, we're not going to award projects just because you're DBE. You have to compete fairly. So we invite you to look for those opportunities, keep an eye on it, and submit your proposal or bid and do your best, because some of you have been working with RTD, so you know exactly how to be successful. Again, if you need more technical assistance, we're going to be providing those topics in this month, and then eventually within the next couple of months before the year end. So with that said, The goal is going to be 6%. And the way we're going to capture, and we plan to capture the participation is 5.5 with race conscious, and then 0.5 with race neutral. In terms of dollars, that means in this particular triennial, we understand 147.7 million will be federally funded, and that means 8.7 million will go to DBEs, if or expected to go to DBEs. Of course, if the prime do their good faith effort and is successful, bringing those DBE to work. We understand that's exactly how it's going to happen. But in reality, those projects, the total amount is not 147 million. This is only the federally funded, the federal portion. The projects, the total of those projects is 428 million. So the 6% is actually 25.6, almost $0.7 million. So that's what represents contracting opportunities for the DBEs. Again, on those 9 that we know as of today that will be federally funded. On the previous triennial, like I mentioned, initially we're 11, and we are now in 27 actually federally funded projects. But that's not only the projects that we anticipate to use DBEs, or as a matter of fact, small businesses. So we also have around, and we anticipate to have around $500 million in locally funded contracts with SBE goal could be set, or small businesses can compete fairly. Jose, would you mind sharing an idea of what would be those particular projects that we anticipate to use local funds, and we need those either DBEs or SBEs to compete as well?
Yes, of course, Alexis. So as you can see on your screen, under construction and maintenance, we got construction management, rail replacement, HVAC, mechanical assistance, painting, asphalt, snow removal, janitorial, custodial, on-call construction contracts, roofing, fencing, printing, and graffiti removal. A lot of those obviously have a possibility for a DBE to be a prime. We have in the past had primes in those areas. Professional services in legal, planning, environmental, bridge inspections, information and technology safety, training, wayfinding, marketing, and there's many other areas where we actually need help with. That represents between 75 millions to 100 millions that are projected to end up going to DBEs, SBEs, or MWBEs, which is roughly between 15 and 20% of the whole contract's value.
Exactly. That's actually, I'm sorry, Jose. Go ahead.
No, back to you.
Thank you. So that's pretty much 15 or 20% going to DBEs or SBEs or MWBEs, and those are only the locally funded projects. So we're working with 2 different set of projects, the ones that are federally funded. At the same time, we set goals, SBE goals, to the ones that are only locally funded. And we anticipate for the next couple of years, like I said, $500 million, and Jose just briefly disclose what would be those particular scope. So what are the next steps? So next steps is we're going to let you guys to review the full plan. If you wish to review the plan, it's going to go from today to July 3rd. And then we're going to allow the community to submit any comment from June 3rd today until July 18. And then we're going to submit the plan to the FTA through the TRAMS system. That needs to happen before August 1st, 2025. So keep in mind that if you want to have access to the plan, you can actually go personally to RTD's executive office in Blake Street, or you can just submit a virtual review, either sending an email to sbo@rtd-denver.com, or you can just go to the SBO webpage, which is rtds-denver.com, and then you click on SBO, and you're going to see a page where you can actually submit your information and set up a date, and then you can review more details about the plan. But again, the plan is very straightforward. 9 projects, most of them are bus contractor services, and we do have plenty of those bus contractor services, Group 30, Group 31, Group 32, Group 33, and we understand only 5% is the percentage that can be captured to DBEs. So we're actually right in the target that we need to be at this moment. Any question or so far, Crystal or Jose, that you have seen in the chat?
I don't see any questions so far in the chat. I don't know if you see one, Crystal. I'm checking, but I haven't seen one.
Yeah, no, I haven't either.
Okay, well, that's pretty much the whole information. We appreciate the time that you guys took to review or to hear, about the DBE plan. We want you to be on the look, to keep working um, and looking for RTD's opportunities, to keep in mind that RTD has the new procurement portal, which is OpenGov.
And sorry,
As
excuse me, Alexis. Now we're starting to get a couple questions.
Oh, sure.
Um, somebody asking here is Isabella asking if you could please elaborate more on your training and marketing needs. And is also Kathy asking, is there a list of next codes that you consider for your
A list of what?
a list of next codes or next codes
I think I
that you
lost you.
consider in the methodology?
I'm sorry, Jose, I lost you for a couple of seconds. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's Kathy's asking if there's a list of next codes that you
Yes.
consider in the methodology document.
Yes, you're gonna see that in the plan. You're gonna be more than welcome to review the list of next codes we use. There's plenty of next codes, and we have not only the next code, but also the list of non-DBEs or general firms in the Denver metropolitan area under the same next codes. Yeah, that's gonna be part of the plan, and you're gonna be more than able to review it and get access to it.
Yeah, and the first question was if we could elaborate at this point about training and marketing needs.
Well, training at this point is trainings that we're going to be offering on small businesses. If you're looking for opportunities to provide training and marketing services, that will be specific contracts, specific needs. We do look for firms to support marketing and training, but that will be posted in OpenGov. So at this moment, I don't see any, but that will be something that if you're registered in OpenGov, you'll get notifications right away once you see once those opportunities are posted. We encourage every firm to always look on OpenGov in a weekly basis because we keep adding, projects, and that's actually great to have you guys looking not only on a project that marketing is the main topic, but maybe some others that marketing could be one of the subtopics or one of the sub areas that is needed. And then you can partner with that particular proposer that can become a prime and do the marketing or training portion. We have the contracting and procurement director, Dana Steele. Dana, I know you raised your hand. Please share your thoughts, or if you want to add any other information, go ahead.
Okay, I don't know how to turn my camera on with since I've been turned off, but I first want to thank everyone for being here and participating in this important process. We really do. I'm sure Carl and Alexis and their team really want to hear your input. So just wanted to say thank you for this informative presentation, Carl and Alexis. To everyone on here, you probably have received communication from RTD about taking our OpenGov advertisements to the next level, where before you were receiving notifications if you were registered in OpenGov for every opportunity, and we've really tried to make that more effective by only targeting by NICS codes. That was always our goal, but we did roll it out expansively, and now we're trying to make it more targeted and tailored so that you're not being overwhelmed with RTD communications and you see the opportunities more clearly that are directed for you and your businesses. I think one, what that means though is you really need to be sure to have your NICS codes identified. And so you can work with our team, you can work with the SBO office. We can figure out how to make that happen. I don't want to get into detail on that on this call, but I just want to say how critically important it is now to understand and identify your NICS code so that you are getting those targeted emails. It doesn't mean you can't log in and see what they are and still apply. It just means you won't get the early notifications automatically. And there are other NIGP codes or other things, but right now OpenGov works with the NICS code. So if you're going by those other codes, you will also need to add NICS codes, and we can get you more communication on that. But I just wanted to say again, thank you, and let us know if you have questions about that. Is there anything you want to add to that, Alexis?
No, actually, thank you for your comment. More than welcome to have you in our meetings. Really, really happy to have you. Brenda is actually the contracting manager under Dana Steele, and she usually participates as well on these meetings. And the purpose is always to educate you guys and facilitate the process to submit bids and proposals. OpenGov is not only to submit the bid. You will learn a lot of information. You can contact potential primes, potential proposers. You can follow specific procurement or solicitations. So yeah, you have to keep coming to this particular portal, and it's free. It's simple.
Okay.
You can actually register in just 2-3 minutes and start getting the advantage of having that particular procurement portal. So yeah, that's pretty much. I do have a copy that I want to just share really quick. If you guys want to see the plan, I don't know if you guys can see my screen again.
And I will just say Brenda would be attending, but she's out sick today.
Yeah. And thank you, Dana. So this is actually the plan, and you're gonna see the details if you want to see the details on what are the specific, projects again, the next codes that where we actually can look for more participation, and specific numbers about the steps that we took and the money that represents those projects. And then you'll see the list of DBEs by next code. So I know Kati was asking one of those, and here's the list of the next codes. And again, we also have the list of firms based on the census that we actually look for that information. And that all this information will be available if you want to review it. But again, it's up to you if you want to see the details. More than welcome. Just follow the process to set a schedule a meeting, and then we're going to let you guys review the plan. At least give you an hour or so if you need it. All right, so do we have any more questions? Jose or Crystal, I don't know if you guys have seen any other.
There's a couple questions. One, when do we expect a new call for the accessoride contracts?
Based on the plan, I think accessoride will be executed late in 28. So I anticipate will be maybe mid or early 27.
Okay. And the next question is, will the attendees receive a copy of this slide deck, and will there be additional opportunities for primes and DBEs to connect as these projects continue to develop?
Yes, it's always opportunity, because first, every project will have a pre-proposal or pre-bid meeting. So that will be the first step, so you can get more information, asking the potential project managers. You will hear from SBO what are the requirements in terms of DBE enclosures, and then you'll start connecting with them before you submit, or you connect with others to submit your proposal or bid. We do have meetings every other month, meetings similar like this one, where we bring project managers and we talk about contracting opportunities. Again, this is only 9 projects that we anticipate to use federal dollars, but we got plenty of projects every month, every year. So keep working with RTD, so eventually you can look for that opportunity to start working as a prime or as a sub if you want to. The copy of the presentation will be shared in an email to all participants. We also have access to the presentation in RTD's SBO website. So you will see this presentation beginning today. You'll see the 30 plus slides there, so you can review it again. But again, you can have copy anyways. Any other question?
Yeah, will the plan we provided to the attendees, in this case, it would be a scheduling time for review,
Yes.
correct?
Correct. So the plan is a very long, couple of 100 pages. So what we do is we let you review the plan, and you'll have access to the plan anytime. The review is actually, like I mentioned in one of the last slide, it's going to be for 30 days. So the review period will finish in July 3rd. And then you can submit comments at any time up to July 18.
There's a question asking where do we go to access it and download the RTD call methodology plan with the next codes?
Yeah, you'll have access to the plan, but first you need to request the time to review it. But that will be the first step. So you will see it in RTD's SBO webpage. That's where you're going to look for that particular information. Any other questions so far?
That's what we have so far. No more questions. I don't see any other questions.
Great. Well, thank you then for your time. Again, thank you, Dana, for joining us as well. Brandy, Mike Smith for helping in the meeting, and our SBO team and Carl for supporting the new RTD Triennial. Again, remember, we'll initiate actually in October 1st, 2025. So there's going to be more opportunity to keep talking about contracting opportunities. So just keep in touch with RTD, and again, keep an eye on that particular first session of training that is going to happen on June 26th. I think there's another question right there, right?
Yes, I think we got one. Can you please share more about how RTD determines which next codes are included when setting a DBE goal for each project? Especially, is there a mechanism for adding a new next codes that reflect DBE support services such as compliance monitoring, administrative, back office help, or CUF documentation assistance that assist DBEs during the life of the contract and improve overall company efficiency?
So first of all, the next codes are based on the scope of the project. So what we do is we meet with the project managers, and then we ask them to give us a scope of work and the internal cost estimate. So those are the tools that we use to identify every single scope. So if you go to the next code page, that's where you actually look for a particular scope, and then that translates to the numbers of next code. And that's exactly what we can do. We cannot add any next code that is not listed as any next code that is not related to the scope of work that are anticipated to be part of the project. So that will be the way to do it. So any other support like DBE consulting, DBE support is always welcome. You can work with actually any prime to support them actually meeting the goal and looking for SBEs or DBEs in this case. RTD is not looking for supporting services as of now. We actually do have a project management contract services, which include DBE consulting matters, but that contract is already executed and is active. If we need more participation, then it will be posted in OpenGov. So that's pretty much. Any other question as of now? I think we're moving to close the meeting if we don't have any other question, unless there's another question.
I don't see anything right now, Alexis.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much. Hope to see you guys soon. And we're going to be more than happy to share more information about the plan once we get those requests through the SBO page. Well, thank you, and we'll give you back 14 minutes. Have a great day now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.